Hey guys, how's it going? So today I want to take you on a little garden tour, show you how things are looking out here. Kind of an end of season garden tour, although I do feel like we have some weeks left, but we're going to have a big downshift in temperature tonight. So our high today is 78, our high tomorrow is 55, and we are supposed to get a ton of wind and rain, which you know what that does to a garden. So I thought, no, we got to run out here today and show you how things are looking before they look a lot worse. And some areas still look super great this time of year. Some areas look a little bit tired, and some areas I didn't even tackle this year. Like I just showed you in a recent video where I finally planted up a pot that still had dead stuff from last year. So it's been an interesting year, but you know, every year has something like that in it. I thought we would start up here in at the front of our house kind of, because I think it looks really nice. The things have done really great up here. Supertunias have been fantastic. I think this might be one of my favorite combinations in terms of growth habit. So these are both Supertunia Mini Vistas. This is a Mini Vista Indigo Charm, Mini Vista Pink Star. And the thing I like about them is they can take what they get here, like the overhead hard water, not a ton of sun, but they've got a more dense habit. So the regular Supertunia Vistas, like the Vista Bubblegum, one plant will get this big. And so I'd always have to be out here kind of trimming them away from the brick sidewalk. I still want to see that structure. The Mini Vistas have, I think a leaf just fell in my hair. The Mini Vistas have a more dense growth habit. Like they still fill up an area, but they're not as aggressive. You still get the performance out of them like you do out of the regular Vistas. So anyway, I've just been super happy with those. Oh, I was going to mention the pots right behind us here. We did clean the annuals out. It's been maybe 2 weeks ago. I had intended on planting them up for fall with mums and cabbage and things like that, and we decided to use those plants for other projects. Like we took a bunch of them down to the Children's Relief Nursery, and that was a really fun project, so I'm glad we did that. So the skyrockets will just stay in there until we get ready to maybe do something in them for winter. Typically we haven't planted up pots in the fall or winter there, so just even having the structure is wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. I almost forgot I wanted to give you an update on the locust tree. Hey, quit! They're always playing, but fighting. The locust tree has done amazing. So Aaron cabled it together after it split. You can see the split. Started up, obviously up at top, came all the way down to here, and he took after it with some cables up top there, and then bolted it together down here, and it split pretty much in half, and both halves of the tree look absolutely pristine still. We never saw any wilting, no yellowing, no sickness. And it's had a bunch of wind since he's done this. Like we had one windstorm that had gusts between like 60 and 70 miles an hour. It was an intense windstorm. And so I was really nervous for this tree, but it's just doing really well. And I'm so thankful because it's a huge bummer to lose something that you're not ready to have gone or something you don't want to have gone at all. So I wasn't ready to have a big hole right here in this garden. It would have changed the look up here dramatically. So anyway, are they still going for it? Hey. You know what, better with each other than like with us. They can go play and mess around and get all their energy out. So the area around the urn has really been nice this year. The Sprinter boxwoods, first of all, this is the first year that they've really looked like a hedge. They still have a tiny bit of growing to do, like you can see between each individual plant. I think next year we'll have like a complete solid hedge, but given the fact they started about this big and look like this now, it's just amazing. Denim and lace Russian sage, wonderful, wonderful perennial. Like if you have an area where you just want to plant something that you don't have to mess with all year, this is the plant you want. It's been blooming for ages, still has color, like fresh color on it, but even when it's not blooming, and maybe you can see right here is a good example. So that's the color of the blooms, it's a little more vibrant, but the calyx that holds the bloom on has this really nice lavender purple color, so even when they're not blooming anymore, they still kind of look like they are blooming. So it lasts all season. You know, even if they stop, they don't lose all of their more vibrant color, it'll still look great until we're ready to cut them back. Truffula Pink Gomphrena here, there are 10 of them total in this whole circle, and they have grown so big. So a wonderful, tough, drought-tolerant plant for areas where you just need something to get big and fill in and be really striking. And then we also have Superbena Sparkling Amethyst in here, which really up to about 3 weeks ago, you could see it a lot better. It eventually got choked out by these big plants around it, but it was just beautiful, beautiful mass carpet. We might have some footage, I might have pictures of what it looked like. before the truffula kind of took over. And then right here, I just got this done last night. This is my one big fall display for the year. Usually I pick one entryway. It was a fun project because I was able to utilize some new pieces like the gallery scroll urns, which weren't even destined for this spot. These are destined to go out on the new property. They might end up staying here because I love them. Used corn out of our cut flower garden. And then I also brought up some Twain containers here just to kind of like bring some weight down. And I used little lime hydrangea, a cabbage, a mum, and a vinca. It just was really fun because all of these pumpkins and squash, every single one of them, we grew on our property. I still have a bunch left in the barn to eat, to store, eat on this winter, all the way probably through spring of next year, and we were able to give some away as well. So it's just super fun. A lot of the stuff that we utilized in this space, we grew. I mean, the corn, the garland above the door is made up of scarlet curls willow, corn tassels, hydrangea. In fact, let's get close to it quick. I did show this in the video, so this might be redundant, but there's just a network frame of scarlet curls willow branches, and then I just popped some corn tassels, firelight hydrangeas, and a little bit of love and a puff vine. That's it. That was a free garland, just scavenged through the yard, and I think it kind of capped the whole area. So now I want to head this way. I thought we would maybe pop out into the cut flower garden, kind of show you what it looks like right now. I'm anticipating it looking a lot different after tonight and tomorrow and the weather that's coming, but first off, the ash tree is looking glorious. We don't have many ash trees in our area because they are prone to borers. This one had it when we moved in. I have been treating the tree, but you probably noticed we haven't planted any other ash trees in our garden. I would love to be able to, but I don't want to have to treat a lot of trees or plants that we have. I want things that aren't prone to bugs and that sort of thing. This one is, I don't know how many years old, but I love it. It's one of my favorite trees on the entire property. I can see this canopy from my bedroom window when I wake up in the morning. But this whole area is going to change fairly dramatically in the next little bit because, and I've explained this part too in videos, we are going to be removing every stitch of grass in this area. You can see a lot of it's not very nice anyway. I don't think that the right blend of grass was used here. It needs to be something a little more shade tolerant. So it always looks thinner and more bare. But what we want to do is remove the grass, remove a lot of this stuff in the front. In fact, we're going to have, not the big mature trees, but we're going to have a plant party where we have friends and family come over and just dig what they want and take it to their gardens because we just kind of need it cleared out. We'll remove the fence. And if we move out here, and I'll see if we can put a top down of our property, top down shot on the screen so you can see. It's a little easier to understand. But right now, our driveway comes in over here by where we just planted all the new autumn blaze maples. It swings around the back side of our house and then it curves around right here and then comes where we're standing. What we want to do is get rid of all of this, the fence, this gravel, and we want to make this lawn a continuous piece to connect the two properties. So we'll plant brand new grass so it's all the same variety because I'm not even sure. I think it's a Kentucky Blue Perennial Rye blend, but we'll replant and we'll make sure we get some shade tolerant stuff worked in under the shady areas, but it'll come out. The grass will come all the way out into the new property, and instead of the driveway curving here, it'll take off straight. It'll keep going straight and then it'll make its curve and meet the lane over there, like further into the new property, if that makes sense. It's gonna be a process. It's gonna be really interesting because there are some aspects that I'm such a visual person. Much to Aaron's chagrin, like he's like, let's get this planned. Like, I want to know where all the flower beds are going to be. I want to know where, such and such needs to be. And I'm like, I got to see it. I have to see it almost in process. Like I need to see it in destruction phase before I can decide what needs to go where. I don't know. I need to get better at that. Maybe I need to go back to school, some kind of landscape design. I do want to pop over to the cut flower garden just really quick, just to give you an update on how things are looking. There's our 2 fall planters while we're here. So I just decided to plant those up for fall. I think those are the only 2 other containers or by an entryway that I've done. The pumpkins are the first 2 that we harvested from our pumpkin patch. So that was fun. We hardly ever use this entryway though. It's actually fun to watch people that have never been to our property drive up and try to decide where to stop. Like, which entryway should I go? Which one is the front door? Everything has just been so amazing out here, you guys. In fact, I put out an SOS to a bunch of friends and family yesterday and neighbors, and I said, please come cut dahlias, cut everything out here and take it home, please, before we have bad weather, because I don't want these flowers to go to waste. And I have cut and cut and cut, and other people have cut flowers this year, and they just keep coming. So when you are planning your cut flower garden, especially if you've never done it before, you do not have to plant on this scale. Nope, you could plant like a quarter of this space and you could get so much productivity that it would make your head spin. Cut flowers, that's how they act. Like the more you cut them, the more they grow, most of them. There are some that are single cut flowers, but a lot of the stuff out here that I planted with like being able to recut stuff in mind so that it was a very productive space, and it's really worked out nicely. So right here, these are the only things that we planted from actual plants. These were all proven winners varieties. We have a Sunstar Rose Pentas, Suncredible sunflowers. They're Angelonias that I think they couldn't handle the amount of water that I had to give this row. All the rows get the same amount, but the basil, there are some varieties that needed a little bit more. That's something I learned from this space this year. I need to have more zones so I can put more drought tolerant or more plants that want it drier in a certain space and put things that need more water in another space. So that's a really good learning experience for me. They did produce flowers for a long time though. Meteor shower verbena, the Caladiums are just amazing plants. And when I put them out here, they were a little scrawny and they struggled for a minute to kind of get established, and they have just like, boom, they're just massive, massive plants. I love them. Play in the blue salvia, of course, is awesome. And we won't go through every single variety, but we've got the red hibiscus. It's a mahogany splendor hibiscus over there. Everything else in this space other than these varieties I just talked about were all started from seed, either inside or direct seeded in the ground. Like a bunch of peppers that we started from seed inside, Rudbeckia Sahara, which has been gorgeous. Yeah, so there's areas that I either didn't get around to planting or we've already pulled stuff. But there's a bunch of zinnias, like just a ton. There's Cresspedia, Sunball. Aren't these so cool? Started these from seed inside and they got mealy bugs really bad. So I had to treat them for that, and they just have rebounded and they're beautiful. The rest of this row, they're all snapdragons, nasturtiums that are massive, massive plants. Calendula, this is Lady Godiva orange right here. And then the rest of this part here, you can see a bunch of open spaces. Those were all flowers that have been pulled. The whole patch of sunflowers looks really sad. They're pretty much done. I mean, if you were to scavenge around, like you can find little treasures in here. See, look at this. Isn't that so pretty? There are still some you can cut, but after our last windstorm, which has been some time ago, maybe a month ago, they've looked pretty bad since that windstorm. But the birds love this space. In fact, you can see, like right here, where they're starting to glean sunflower seeds. I actually took a video out here the other day, and it was full of goldfinches, and there was some kind of a red-breasted finch. It just loaded. So I kind of want to keep these up for as long as possible. Like this will probably be the last crop that we dispose of, so that it can be really good forage for the birds as we go into deeper fall and winter. Dahlias are amazing. You can see there's some that kind of got like maybe a little bit of rot. Maybe they got broken on the bottom in a windstorm and we tried to pop them back up and tie them off. And so that's happened here and there throughout this patch, but it almost doesn't even matter because this spot has been so incredibly prolific. I'm so thankful. Like this makes me so happy to see this because dahlias are so amazing. I typically don't like to grow dahlias in flower beds unless they're back planted, like if they've got something planted in front of them, because unless there's something small like this, they tend to have a little bit more of a wild look to them, so it looks good with something down below, and these can kind of tower above. I love seeing them like this though, in row crop kind of style. It's easy to water them, to maintain them, to stake them. This staking system has worked great. In fact, here, look. This is what we use. So we have the T-posts here that Aaron and Paul put in, and then we use this white nylon rope, 2 runs of it, which we could probably get away with 3, but it's okay. 2 runs of it, so as the dahlias have grown, if they have needed to be staked, which most of them haven't needed it, This is what we use. They're like little rubbery, soft coated wire. So you can take your dahlia, say like that, and you can just tie it off to the string like that. Super easy, they're reusable. So a few of them we've staked up, most of them we haven't. I've got a lot of beautiful, like one of the most prolific bloomers is the Cafe au Lait. There's the Snowbound behind it. That's amazing. Or Snow Country. I can't remember, I've got both varieties in here. They're both blooming beautifully. And then there are quite a few mixes in here. We should like do just a dahlia tour and look at all the beautiful dahlia varieties. I do want to show you this one specifically though, because these got huge. See, the gladiolus needed to be staked a bit. They're kind of wanting to flop. But come down this aisle right here. Look at the size of this dahlia. Look at that, that's my hand. Isn't that crazy? Now, I don't know if I have I think this might be part of a mix. Let me look. Oh yeah, it's called Dinner Plate Pastel Mix. I think these came from Eden Brothers. So it's kind of this section right here. We've got some white in the mix that got big, and then these huge, beautiful ones. And if you look this way, you can see the flowers and the vegetables that we started mid-July, mid to late July. And those are all varieties. Those Tithonias are amazing. The first time I've ever grown those. Those bright orange flowers over there, and they got massive. But everything's done beautifully in this space, really providing a lot of color. And I just wanted to show some of those things that you could plant late in the season and still get some really good productivity from. My nasturtiums that made it are actually looking pretty darn good. And the cosmos have been amazing. I can't remember what this variety is called, like lemonade, cupcake lemonade maybe, or something like that. Daydream. There's the, can't remember. It was just on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, there's a lot of varieties out here. I can't remember them all. We've been harvesting from this area a lot. In fact, it might look, let's check this corn. This is called sweetness corn right here. And it's really short. That looks pretty good. Hey, we might have some ready in October. That's exciting, because I haven't picked any that have been fully formed yet, and this one's formed pretty much all the way to the top. But it's very short. I don't know if that's like true of the variety. My brother planted the same thing in his garden, and his did the same thing, so maybe it's just a shorter corn. Okay, Erin, you have to remind me that this is out here. I will forget. Over here, the tomato patch is completely insane, and they're starting to bow down under their own weight at the moment. The pumpkin patch, there are still some things left in here. I mean, you can see the pathways that we created when we were harvesting, but we left a few on the vines that were not quite ready to be picked yet. I think there's a whole bunch of butternut squash over this way. Oh, this one looks good. Little baby one right there. Yeah, there's some butternut squash out here. Anyway, and there's some other big pumpkins up this way, but I think let's go back out this way and back to the yard. Hold up, we gotta stop right here because this is one of the big ones that we left. I think this is the biggest one, Connecticut Field right here that we had, but it hadn't, like it's actually colored up since we harvested the other pumpkins. And I don't know, we'll see. I might just pick it. We might get to a point where I'm just gonna use that as decoration as a green pumpkin. And we have pulled the melon vines. So they were getting pretty, they were done. We got a few ripe ones. The other ones actually went to a friend's house that has pigs. And she takes anything, any kind of produce that we're like that's overgrown or that we're clearing out of the garden and feeds her pigs. So that's where a lot of our produce goes if it gets overripe. We try to stay on it as much as possible, but we've grown a lot this year and we're just trying to get used to that kind of flow influx, I guess. And we'll learn over the years how to manage things a little bit better, I think. Another really exciting thing that's actually happening this month, the 19th, right? 20th. Power poles are going away and we're having the electric lines buried. So that is gonna really change this thing. That was something we actually planned for since last year. We've been on Idaho Power's schedule for about a year now, and they'll come out and do that, and that'll help connect our two properties as well. I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know which way to go. Let's just do this one corner and then we can pop back into the garden maybe. So the moon garden, still looking really nice, Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. So you can see the difference in growth habit between the Snowdrift Vista, which is a traditional Vista, and then the mini Vistas up front, which are much more compact. Beautiful, beautiful plant right here. Back planted by White Wands Veronica. There's a white acorn squash that I harvested from and kind of decimated the plant. I need to pull that. Artichoke I started from seed inside. Don't you love that structure? I think it's the most beautiful leaf structure ever. This one did produce one little baby artichoke, and while I was looking at it and marveling at the fact that this not even 1-year-old plant was producing a fruit, I accidentally broke it off the plant. I was so sad. I put it in a vase on our kitchen, like right behind our kitchen faucet, so I could look at it and wonder what it might have tasted like had I actually left it alone and not have touched it. In the rest of this area, the Vertigo Pennisetum, amazing plant. So I did plant these a little bit later, and you can tell in the growth amount that it's different. So last year I planted these in front of our gazebo early on, and they got so big. I actually like them this size. So if you get around to it a little bit later in the season, they'll just be a little bit more compact, which is needed sometimes. Lobularia here, I think this is the White Knight or Snow Princess variety. I can't remember. They both look very similar to me and grow really well, both of them. Helen von Stein Lamb's Ear, which this is a perennial. It's one of my go-tos, and one of them I like to have in multiple areas of my garden. They require very little from me, and they usually kind of spread and fill in an area and provide just a wonderful soft texture, and Benjamin likes these. They're very like tactile plant. They do produce bloom stalks that I don't like, so I cut those off. I use these mostly for leaves. Here's the Gonfocarpus. It performed very well. So you can see what's going on. It is covered in aphids. Excellent. So now we know it's an aphid attracting plant. As long as it's, you know, sometimes I like to leave host plants like calendula in my vegetable garden, or nicotiana is also one that attracts aphids. Now I know this one is. And if all the aphids will just flock to one plant and leave everything else alone, I won't spray it. I'll just leave the plant here, let the aphids do their thing. It provides food for some of the beneficial insects, and it keeps them away from my other plants. So anyway, that's really interesting, but they did produce some really interesting seed pods, some of which, look at this. See if I can get this one off real quick. Oh, please don't let there be a big old, there's a jumping spider, but no black widow, so we're good. All right. Gonfocarpus for everybody in the neighborhood. Ah! So that's what it looks like when one of them breaks open. Interesting. Oh my, there's some kind of sap or something that's sticking to my fingers. All right. Fold that up really nice and tuck it down in here. God, it's in my hair. I wonder if you could use this as like, it's like cotton. I wonder if anybody's ever used that for anything. I wonder if it would like spin into a nice yarn. Gosh dang. Diamond Mountain Euphorbia has performed really well. It's been a little bit underwhelming, to be honest, though, in this space. Like, it looks good in and of itself, but I think I need something a little bit more bold in this area. And I think next year we're gonna maybe do something more perennial, maybe not annual. I mean, I think it would look beautiful to have something like Nepeta or Lavender or something like that, that's a wonderful long blooming perennial that will come back every year, that doesn't require a lot from me, and that has some color. The containers here, I actually threatened them a little bit earlier on, and I was gonna pull them in favor of some fall plants, and they kicked it right into gear and started blooming like crazy and filling in even more, and they look really beautiful, especially from this angle. Well, from this angle too. There was one of them down the way that has a little bit of a hole, but for the most part, they're just completely full. I do notice a little bit of budworm activity, maybe. We have stopped spraying for budworms. We stopped a few weeks ago, just because as the weather cools down, it's really not worth it to keep on top of something when you're just gonna be pulling it in not too long. So we actually stopped doing our weekly water-soluble fertilizer a couple weeks ago as well. So everything's just kind of starting to power down a little bit. The King Tuts have done really well, but I'm looking forward to getting them gone. I think it's a little bit too much of a fine appearance. I think I need something more bold. I don't know. It's just a very good learning experience. I think they got a little bit too big for what I was thinking. And so when you look down the way, you cannot really see the urns, and that's something that's really important to me. I really want to be able to still see the full urn. So we're trying to we'll keep things a lot lower in stature as we move forward and decide on more plants. I planted some Lumina pumpkins in this area. They took a long time to get going, but each one of them, there's 2 vines here, has a fruit on them. I did not harvest those because when we came to harvest, they weren't even close to ready. Overall, I think the area was good. It was a good learning experience for me this year. I mean, I love it. If you turn around and look back down this pathway, it looks really beautiful with those vertigos. I might do that again. Sometimes you win some and you lose some. You know, you figure out, well, maybe not Diamond Mountain underneath the trees, but those vertigos are awesome. That's something I need to keep doing because that's an amazing end vista to look at, if that makes sense. So here's the other Lumina pumpkin right here. And we've got 2 fruit, it looks like. There's one right here. I think they're supposed to get a little bigger than that, but the stems are still pretty green. And there's a third. 1, 2, and a 4th. What? Is there more than that? Oh, that's exciting. I thought we only just had 1 on each plant. So we have 4 total, 5 total. I can count. And this area's gotten a little bit wild, but these are probably one of my fave performing roses this year. This is the Ambridge Rose, and they've just been like the perfect color here. So beautiful. I need to do a little trimming on the colettes, but everything else is doing great. I need to pull the cabbage. In fact, we should probably pull that and give it to the chickens today. It's got some caterpillar damage there, but it was a really pretty structure for a lot of the season. And then the vegetable garden, still looking really good. In fact, Russell kept getting in this bed. So I came in and put these little cloches down. This is actually a new one from Gardener's Supply. We'll link it down below. But I just got this one not that long ago, and it didn't quite fit, but it was perfect. You know, it fit perfectly if I didn't have radishes down on the other end. But I had to put something in here to keep Russell from messing up all my seeds. But I didn't realize that some of this lettuce is ready to harvest like right now. I should have probably pulled these off a little sooner. Doesn't that look pretty though? Look at that beautiful lettuce. And the radishes. That's Cherry Bell. And, well, let's see. French breakfast right there. In this bed we have sweet potatoes, which I will probably harvest out next week. Planted those really late. I had them in the greenhouse since early May, and I think, did I plant them in July? Do you remember? Was it July? And they were like almost dead, looking little starts. Russell, he just like follows us around wherever. Anyway, it took them a while to kind of root in, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's in there. And then we've got zinnias that were planted late, looking amazing in 3 of the beds. Isn't that like the most happy looking thing? Usually I don't plant like this, you know, like these really bright colors, but it's like a really fun change of pace to do that every once in a while. One amazel basil plant, that poor thing, it's just like, it's so huge. It cracked in a windstorm, but it's still like, it didn't hurt anything. It still kept growing except for this branch right here. I'll remove that. But look at the base. Look at the trunk on this thing. It's huge. Huge, huge plant. Like, you do not need very many amazel basils to make everything that you need that's basil based in your house, in your kitchen. Garlic is already coming up, looking pretty strong, most of it. There's one row that's looking a little weak. Most of the time though, it's very sporadic, kind of how it comes up in the fall. Sometimes it doesn't come up at all. It'll sit in there all winter, and then next year it'll pick up and start growing again. In this bed here, we've got kale, lacinato on the back, the dwarf blue curled Scotch kale in the front, and then green onions. These I planted from bulbs, and then the other ones I planted from seeds. So you can see the difference in like growth rate. Like these still look really good and healthy. Naughty, you're so naughty. But these are ready to use, like have been ready to use for a while. More garlic in this bed here. Close up of the zinnias. The spinach bed is looking awesome. And the strawberries, they have performed so beautiful. Look at this. These are Buried Treasure red and pink. It's just a mix in this container right here. And they just keep producing and producing and producing like they've never been without berries. And they've all been pretty decent sized too. And these are first year berries. My second year berries have even produced bigger fruit, which is amazing. Okay, another bed of sweet potatoes right there. They get so big. And then we're gonna come back out here and go into the yard. So we've got a couple different projects being worked on in the barn. I just gave you guys an update on what's going on in there right now. Chickens are flying around. Did you see that? Still haven't put our pottery all the way away yet. We've used a few pieces. And then I've got a big project coming up next week where I'm going to utilize some, and then we'll probably organize it away to use in next year's projects. I think we should go back in this way. So there's a couple different directions. Let's just look at this brick raised bed first. Still looking awesome. We've got Firelight hydrangeas up there in the top. We've got Play in the Blue salvia, Truffula pink gomphrena, and the Cascade white angelonia. I would say this is my favorite. Do you think it's your favorite that we've done so far?
Yeah, one thing I'll say though is that I feel like Angelonia needs more sun and less water.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, based on the performance in the cut flower garden, I think you're right. Although like this side looks amazing. If you go around this side where it gets a lot more shade and I think more water, there's something wrong with our water, but it's always done that every single year. But you can see it's a little bit more yellow on this side. But this side, it's gorgeous, just to show it from this side. The planters around the tool shed are amazing. Do you remember when we planted this up early this spring? Like this is one grass. Like I really should come in here and pop some of these. Like you can come in if you've got a grass flopping, and it's really easy just to like pop off a piece that's flopped over so that it doesn't, you know, get all up in the business of your other plants. And because it's like coming out the bottom here and everything. Kind of looks pretty though. But we've got dahlias in here that have kind of taken over the super bells. You can see them a little bit. They're super bells. Is it strawberry punch? Is that what we put in here, I think? And then a snowstorm, snow globe, bacopa right there, which a little bit yellow at this time, but I'm surprised. This area gets like blaring hot sun for most of the day, and it gets the heat off of the tool shed there. And I was worried about the bacopa because it usually, in the heat of the summer, it kind of starts to fizzle out a little bit, but it's really done well. I've got oregano that went to seed, and I left it because I like the way the seed pods look, or the seed heads, and I want to use it in cut flower arrangements, which I have a little bit. Look at that, how pretty that is. A pot full of mint, a euphorbia will go right through here. The chicken coop bed is looking pretty darn good, pretty full of flowers. In fact, let's just walk over here. You can see the chickens. Well, I see 3 of you. One of you must be laying an egg right now. I still have the umbrella in there. That was their source of shade this summer. I just popped that umbrella open and it shaded a big portion of this run. It worked out really well, actually. But we've got Play in the Blue salvia. There's a rose called Oh So Easy Peachy Cream. Look at this color. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful with the Play in the Blue salvia. I've been really, really impressed with the osteospermums, or African daisies. This is the Bright Lights white variety. I also have Bright Lights pink planted and Bright Lights, is it dark pink and the red. I have them all planted around here, and they have done so well as landscape plants. I have them in containers too, but in the landscape they have just outperformed so many other things. They look beautiful, and I've been really happy with that. Let's walk down the pallet walkway here. I really love this area. It's filled in so much just in the short amount of time that we've had it planted in this space. I did pop some annuals in here. You'll notice I use Play in the Blue salvia everywhere. It's just such a workhorse plant, and it provides so much color, and the honeybees. You can see one out. It's fairly early, so it's not warmed up yet. Not a lot of pollinator activity yet today, but these will be absolutely covered with honeybees for the rest of the day. It's a really fun thing to watch, and Benjamin loves it. He comes out and he does this, you know, that little baby squat where they like look like their bum should touch the ground. I can't do it, but and then he just squats and he watches the bees. It's so cute. My wild wisteria that needs to be cut back. Russell, what are you doing? He wants to climb. Oh, is he going to make it to the top? Who knows? It's just like a little secret grotto in here. I just really love how it's turned out. Now we still haven't, I think I showed this in a video, we still haven't covered up, and I'll plant this area too, haven't covered up the drip tubing, because when we put in this pondless waterfall, which we'll go around the front here and show you again, we had to cut through a lot of drip lines that go to multiple different zones, and so we wanted to leave it exposed long enough to really test out all those zones and make sure we've connected everything properly. So it's a good idea, even though it doesn't look awesome, to not cover things with mulch, not plant around them for just a little while until you can decide if you're good to go. We do have some hydrangeas back here, which Aaron bet me they would never bloom. He said that spot does not get enough sun, they're never going to bloom, and they're going to look sick all the time. They're not that sparse. They're gorgeous, and they're not burned like a lot of our other hydrangeas burn in the full sun. The blooms just do. So these are protected enough that we get some gorgeous color out of them. I love it. I love the Brunnera. I love the Carex in here. There's a Japanese maple back in there. There's just so many beautiful colors and textures. It's just such a fun area. It's so fun. Just did a video where I trimmed up these boxwoods. It's looking a lot less mangy, a lot better over here. Unlike this spot, we're about ready to do some clean out. The baptisia had a little bit of an iron deficiency issue this year, and I love the way the leaves look. Like this is healthy baptisia foliage right here, kind of a eucalyptus look to it. And this is what unhealthy baptisia foliage looks like. We had, and it's weird because like some of the plants look great and healthy and some of them look like they needed iron. And we figured out this year that because our pH is so high, we know we have high pH, we've been implementing a lot more soil acidifier, and we're adding that into every area almost as like a fertilizer. When we fertilize the plants, we soil acidify. And I think over time we'll be able to start correcting the problem. We've already seen some plants rebound and start to look better, so it's promising. This area is looking a little wild right now. I have been meaning to clean the fountain. In fact, this is kind of funny. I came out, was it last week? I set my cleaning brush right here and I forgot. And then the other day I was walking around, I'm like, oh, my cleaning brush is just floating in the water right now. What I was trying to do is I needed to go find the correct socket to take this plug out of the bottom of this reservoir, and I got distracted by something, totally forgot. So this is something I need to work on because this will run for a while longer yet if I just get it going. The elephant ears have done great. These are the heart of the jungle. Now I'm noticing that a couple of them look like they're trampled or something. That's weird. Look how big the bases have got. We're about ready to dig these anyway, so I'm not super concerned. But they did produce a gorgeous, I think I took a picture, backdrop. Like they filled in even this spot right here where there's one that's like kind of trampled over. Weird. I haven't noticed that up till right now. But they formed this beautiful backdrop to the fountain, really nice and bold. So we'll get those bulbs dug before it gets too cold next week. But the Dalmatian peach foxglove, started these from seed inside. Beautiful, and they bloomed. This is their third time this season. It feels like they've always been in some sort of bloom, and I love plants that do that. And then the last thing in this area, I mean there's other plants, but the last really stunning one right here is the Mini Vista Indigo Charm, which is the same one we used up by Persephone. This one gets a lot more sun than the one up there, and you can tell a little bit of the performance difference. This one has grown a little bit bigger, but they've both been full of this beautiful color all season. There's really not a lot to see in this back garden, except I wanted to show you this Proudberry Coralberry plant. Like just coming through the fence, looking so amazing, full of gorgeous berries. Like it's kind of like weighing itself down. It has so many berries on it. So this is the first year that I felt comfortable cutting them for flower arrangements, because usually when my plants are really small and babies, I don't really want to cut a whole bunch off of them. I want them to look pretty on the plant. But now that they're so thick and prolific, I can cut branches of this and use them in arrangements. It's so much fun. This area has really been a fun one. Again, Vertigo pennisetum that was planted even later than the Vertigo on the end of the west side, stayed a lot smaller. I wish there was a grass that I could plant at the beginning of the season that had this thicker leaves, that had this color, that would stay this short. Because I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Plain the blue salvia, sparkling amethyst, superbena around the base there. This is where we were going to be planting those Corinthian linden trees, and we decided that we wanted to do something different that had a different shaped canopy. We still haven't decided clearly because we have no trees here. It's been kind of nice to have it open, to be honest, because you know the fountain is right there in front of me with the boxwoods and the really pretty arbor, and we can see that from the house now. We couldn't see that before when the oaks were here. We did have pavers removed from this area. Actually, Aaron's mom came and dug them all out and took them home and used them. We had planned to do a project in here that we didn't make it to this year, which is totally fine. There's a lot of other things going on, but we've actually liked the mulch pathway. It might be something that we do a little bit more because it looks really just like chill. It looks pretty because there's not like a definite structure. We have a lot of structure around here. I mean, just the brick siding or whatever. What do you call this?
Edging.
Edging. It's not siding. Edging. We wanted this to keep the mulch going into the gravel going into the mulch, and so we had a nice clean line. But here it's nice to have plants that can kind of grow into the path, and then like it undulates a little bit better and it's less rigid. I think it's really pretty, so it might be something that we continue on with. We've got some of the very awesome hibiscus and a caryopteris called Sunshine Blue. Isn't that gorgeous? So it has more yellow leaves, like that is its leaf color, which looks beautiful with the blue blooms, and it looks really pretty to mix it in with other things that have more of a green color leaf. So it contrasts a little bit better. And I really like the pennisetum here mixed in with all of this. I think this is the most gorgeous like drift of grass. Beautiful in the wind. Some suncredibles. They've done probably the best here and in the cut flower garden. This one you can see got cracked in a windstorm, the last windstorm we had, but it hasn't done any. It's like the basil. We just can't kind of let it go. If a part of it wilts, we'll take it out, but the rest of it can just live on and produce some blooms. The red noodle beans have been nuts. You should come around the front side here. Take a look at this. Benjamin, poor Benjamin can't even get into his teepee barely. Look at this. So some of these are overgrown. In fact, I could let these ripen and mature and harvest some seed for next year because these have been incredible. These are perfect eating size right here. Nice and tender. They maintain their color pretty well when you cook them as too. Not really great for processing or any of that sort of thing. They're best for kind of fresh eating, but amazing vine. We're getting to a point where it's starting to look a little bit more like a mess though. Maybe we'll grow them on a fence or a trellis system out in the vegetable garden next year. We need to swing through here to look at the waterfall. Virginia creeper, I know a lot of you guys, this is invasive for you and you hate it, and the fact that you see it, you just want to like pull it wherever you see it, but it's really not invasive here. It grows and will root in around and it will fill in an area, but it's super easy to pull and it's super easy to control, and I think it's the most gorgeous thing. I love it so much. All right, so if we come through here, you can see the pondless waterfall. It has elevated this space so much. And I can't wait to see the plants fill in and mature because I think it'll be very thick and it already looks very lush, but I think it'll even be more so once these plants go for it. I mean, those are Empress Wu hostas. They get enormous, like 5 to 6 feet wide. They're really big. I still haven't moved these. I'm gonna move these plants so Benjamin can navigate this little side easier. He likes to go sit up there. Anyway, it's just been such a fun thing. And I think that we should probably have more water like this around in other places. It's really made this area very pleasant. And then, I'm trying to think of other areas, but I think I just want to kind of look at this area over here by the back sun porch. We had Chinook caladiums right here. We just dug those. We're working on things a little bit at a time, digging caladiums. One variety at a time so we don't accidentally mix the varieties up, which I tend to do. I'm not like super organized and great at labeling. So if I do one at a time and don't even allow myself to dig the next bulb until the other one's stored properly and labeled, then I keep better on top of things like that. But Chinook caladiums, it says that they want part shade to shade. We planted a ton in this space, and then we realized that this spot gets full sun in the afternoon. Those plants didn't care at all. They were beautiful. They filled in this whole space. There's like a salmon pink color. Looked beautiful in front of the icicles helichrysum, which is an annual, unfortunately. Isn't that a beautiful drift right there? We also planted some meteor shower verbena, which was in between the icicles, and the Wicked Witch Coleus, which is my absolute favorite this year. It has performed better than any other Coleus on our property, and it was a real pretty look. The meteor shower kind of fizzled out in this area, so we did clean that. I kind of like it in the fall to start seeing things slowly be cleaned up. We do a lot of our cleanup in the fall rather than in the spring, because spring is just so wild for us. So we just plug away at it. Agapanthus right here, I planted that last year thinking it was just going to be an annual, because it has been in our area traditionally, but we layered those up with a lot of leaves, and then we had a mild winter, so they came up. You can see they bloomed for us, so that was a real huge treat. I love the strappy leaves. It's interesting to hear from you guys that like agapanthus, where it's like I just got to get rid of it out of my yard. It's so rampant everywhere. Those places where things grow naturally, like here, what grows naturally that somebody might want to grow in their own yard?
Sagebrush.
Yeah, is there anything desirable that comes from our native landscape? I don't know, but there's a lot of things like this that are not usually hardy enough that I really want to grow in my space, and I don't know, I try to push it, and you guys are just like, are you serious? That's a common plant. We use that in like mall parking lots, and so, and to me it's like this specimen, beautiful plant. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, our red point maple up here has not looked so good this year. Now we planted it, was it last spring?
2 springs ago.
2 springs ago, and it's grown like huge. It looked awesome for most of this year, and then all of a sudden it just like, it was having some iron deficiency issues, and then it just started to burn up. So here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna kind of leave it alone for now. It'll lose its leaves. Aaron is gonna come in and drill holes in the ground, like with the auger, around the drip line of the tree, which is right along where the outer branches lie. So it'll just be in this area here, and he's gonna dump soil acidifier in those holes, and we'll do some tree tone most likely as well, and I'm sure it'll be fine. It's got a lot of root structure underneath that ground. I can't imagine it hit anything weird, you know, in terms of like hitting a pocket of bad soil. I can't imagine that, because everything else in this area has done fairly well. So I don't know, every year there's usually like 1 or 2 kind of unexplained, like, well, we're gonna experiment with this and this and this and try to rebound this plant and see what happens. Sometimes it works really well. Most of the time it works really well. Plants are pretty resilient, and sometimes you have to kind of give up, but I think we'll be okay with this one. I did not cut back the lavender this summer, so it's a little wild. This is Munstead. There's still some color on it, but look at these, look at the Coleus. I mean, look, it's like a little river of Coleus. It starts right here and then makes its way to the back. And in front of the incredible hydrangeas and back behind the lemon zest roses, just so pretty. And this whole area, this is just kind of like what I wanted to see. All the layers of this space, the boxwood hedging, which is really starting to look amazing. You know, we pulled that out the second year we were here. There were big privets that had some dead spots in them. And so it's been a little bit of it's always a little bit of a process to get things back up and going and growing to where it looks like some sort of structure. And for the first couple of years, they were pretty, they hadn't grown together. They were pretty loose and open, and now they're starting to look a little bit more hedge-like, which is really nice. I still have not pulled the Coleus. This is ridiculous. This one also is broken at the bottom, but it still has good color. I think this will all be gone after this weekend or next week when we get that freeze, but we've enjoyed the color. It has performed different for me this year than it has other years. Most of the time, like past years, it looks pretty much like this, but solid, no green. This year, it's done a lot of this, which I don't mind, but I really, like, I've been planting, well, before it was marooned Coleus, and then marooned was replaced by ridiculous. And ridiculous performed awesome last year. I love the big chunk of color right here. So I was really hoping to have just kind of that solid look. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it was the plants or the year or what, who knows. And then we'll just cap it all off right here, the whole tour. These are the fall containers. I think we just put up the video this morning of 4 fall containers utilizing some really fun stuff, a different look and color kind of combination for each one. I think they look gorgeous all displayed together. Really fun. And then this is the arrangement where Aaron went around the garden and picked 2 buckets full of just random stuff, and then I had to, and he picked the vase too, and then I had to put it all together and try to make it look cohesive. I think it ended up pretty nice. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to end the tour right here. I think there are a couple areas we didn't really venture into, but it's areas that nothing has really changed. And so I don't want to make this video is probably really long at this point. I tend to like get into it, and we should do more micro tours, Aaron, like where we just do one area and we can really go plant by plant, and I can, talk about my experiences with different things. And I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this garden tour video. I hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.